Good. We can see the slides.
Okay, great. So I will try to give a light to current spatial aspects of demographic differentiation and urbanization process in Poland. I will start with the research question. Later, we'll do assumption, discuss data and research methods, going through results, and we'll finish with conclusions. Yeah, and it's true, it's a pilot study. The idea for this was to explore new data sets that was made available by the Polish Statistics Office. This is a pilot for my PhD dissertation, and the topic for this is diversification of housing preferences as a factor in suburbanization and urbanization. What I'm going to do there is to identify factors that may influence the housing preferences of people living in the particular zones. The center's heathland areas, districts adjusted to the center, and the closer or further outskirts of the city. So I'm going to analyze interlinkages between the functional structure of the environment and the housing preferences of the population. And in this particular study, we are aiming to analyze how demographic profiles of inhabitants refer to urban characteristics of settlements as a result. We will also try to attempt what are the combination of degree of urbanization and the demographic characteristics of inhabitants. And we try to understand if there are particular housing preferences associated with various cohorts of population.
Veronica, a remark from my side. Could you please switch to presentation screen? Then we can see the whole picture, not all the slides behind them and the tools.
Okay, can you see it now? Because I was in the presentation mode.
That's presentation mode for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I switched back to the. Do you see the switching slides?
Okay. Ist ja immer noch unverändert.
I will try again. So
yes,
can you see it
just go on.
Yeah.
Yes. Please continue.
Do you see the assumption slide now?
No. Just go on.
Okay. So and now.
Yes.
So okay, I will just leave it how it is because something goes wrong. So I will keep it in this mode. Okay.
Okay.
So the background for our research was actually a pilot study that I was presenting 1 year ago in Malaga. And in this study, we have found that there is intensive suburbanization around the main Polish cities in Poland. And we testified it statistically and visualized it on maps. And the reason for studying this was because the construction industry in Poland at the moment shows really impressive growth. And in this study, we hypothesize that rapidly urbanizing areas may attract a cohort of young families at the fertile age. So actually, we want to see who actually resides these new dwellings, these new buildings, and these new resident areas. And our aim is to identify the latent factors that may affect urbanization process in Poland. We have used a set of demographic, urbanization, and infrastructure data for 2021. I will show it more in the next slide. And we have tried to use factor analysis to analyze them. This is the method that allows to show the best possible variation for the input data and to create so-called compound factors. Components that could explain the structure and it's the same the combination of the variables for the particular data set. I hope it will be more clear in the next steps. And we do use the data from Statistics Poland. It's a newest release available. It was just newly fresh. Unfortunately, we experience a big time lag with data publishing. So, and in this slide you can see the list of all initial variables. These are new dwellings constructed for this year. All the variables are taken for counties. We also analyzed location quotients of dwelling completed. Location quotients showed us the proportion of the relation of the new dwellings completed in a particular area in county to compare to the national average. So by this measure, we can actually see where this intensive construction is located in which counties. We also analyze the density of roads, the passenger cars, the active stock of public transportation, the monthly salaries of inhabitants, the share of urbanization of this area, natural increase, migration balance in different age groups, number of households reside in the area, and number of child families and number of families with a particular number of children. And we also analyze the non-working population and the number of women in a fertile age below 34 and above 34. So all the components that were extracted, there were 4 components. I will discuss them in further steps. Explain altogether about 86% of the variance of the initial data set. And here you can see in the first column that the first component explains 51%. The second one is 80, 11, and 4 respectively. It rather can picture for factor analysis the first component explains the big amount of the variance. So, and in the result of this analysis, we have got the rotated component matrix. In fact, there is a correlation matrix. So when we see the indices in the column, this is actually a correlation index that could explain the correlation between the particular variable and belonging to this cluster. So it means that when we have a high value of an index, this variable is especially influential for this segment. So while analyzing these numbers for all the variables, we have interpreted this as 4 factors. The first one is mobile little families, the second one migration families, small rich families, and large immobile families. So all now I will discuss the maps. All values on the map represent adequate volume of variance of certain components. So on this first we do see the first component. These are mobile orbital families. To interpret this, one should know a bit geography of Poland. Here we can see that in some cases there are major Poland cities that are overrepresented for the segment, and in others there are bagels surrounding the central municipality, mostly in southeast Poland. And this component is associated with stable income families. Stable income families at fertile age inhabiting connecting areas. Connecting areas means that there was a high amount of personal car and public transportation stops in this area. This possible expansion of the urbanization. This means that it was the area of intensive suburbanization. So the other component was called migration families. And this component is interesting in the context of the urban growth research because it's associated with the area of most intensive urbanization. And here we can actually see the bagel around all the main Polish cities. This component was identified also by high values of migration, with a positive value of migration, and really high natural balance and stable income of inhabitants. The next component, small rich families, actually shows the opposite picture. In contrast, here we can see that this component resides metropolises mainly. So these are main big Polish cities. And it describes small families that are often childless or have one kid and possess high income. So it's and this segment we can see it on the map, seems to be pronounced in the northwest Poland. And the last and least segment was large families, probably immobile families. I would say that actually this maps provides the least specific picture. It really needs further research and attempts to analyze. It seems to be widely distributed across the whole country and probably prevails in the outskirts of the city. So our main conclusion was the following, that housing preferences of inhabitants may be associated with their socio-demographic profile, and high-income families are mainly associated with residing in highly urbanized area, while stable income families are associated with the areas of intensive urbanization. This was the first finding that was in the context of my PhD hypothesis. We have also found that the areas of expansion may be associated with specific profile of settlers. This was migration families, and they were characterized with stable income and relatively high level of natural increase on this area. On the other side, we have not testified our hypothesis that it would be the area mainly this area will attract young families at a fertile age and probably with small children. So and the relation with the high number of children haven't confirmed either in our study. In the context of fertility research, there were two components, 3 and 4, that are small rich families and immobile big families that could be in the interest, while small rich families reside mainly cities and possesses high incomes. The large immobile families may occupy early urbanized area. And it may be this found it may be rather interesting also in the context of the other European countries where the population looks rather small. And probably the last one would be that the fertile age was a significant parameter for some components, but the correlation was not so high, and we haven't found any differences within the age category because we divided the families in a fertile age for two groups. Below above such a 5 years, and we haven't found any differences here. So for further research, we would definitely try to find data about infrastructure. We think that probably it was one of the weak points of our research, and this is a point that could be improved in further iterations. And thank you very much for your attention. This is all from my side at this point.
Thank you, Veronica. So I open the floor of those who are here and, of course, those who are participating online for questions and comments. Any questions, any comments? I would like to have this question. You in your presentation, you say it's a pilot study. So you have done some work that you presented. So how do you carry on with the study? Any modifications or so what makes the pilot roll out into the full scene?
Okay, I think that first of all, after making this pilot, we have decided that this method is okay for this type of research, and we are going to develop this. We would definitely consider other variables. We would definitely also consider data sets for other years. Our main result here was that actually this method works for this particular type of data. It was our main conclusion.
Okay.
And the other thing that is also we are going to make the further research for the level down. We are going because this research was for contests. And my final goal is to analyze the functional area of Warsaw. This is why this means that we will need to consider the same research for the smaller spatial units, and this is still a challenge for us.
Okay, thank you, Veronica. Any more questions or remarks? I see that is not the case. Then it's thank you to you. And of course, thank you to your co-author, and our regards that go to Piotr. Thank you very much, and hope to see you next time in presence. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
It's time for us to carry on to the next presentation. And I see our next presentation presenter is online. It's Timur Merembayev and Yarlan Amanbek. They talk about natural fracture network model using machine learning approach. Timur is the one who presents. Timur, good to see you online. The floor is yours, please. Unmute your mic, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Now loud and clear.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay,
Excellent.
good. Hello, everyone. My name is Timur Merembayev.
And off you go. Thank you.
Okay.
Please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Timur Merembayev. I'm going to introduce our research, natural fracture network model using machine learning approach. This work done with collaboration Yerlan Merembayev and performed based on the Nazarbayev University. Let's start from the challenge in motivation. First of all, fracture characterization plays a vital role in flow and transport problem in subsurface applications, such as oil and gas production, groundwater remediation, CO2 sequestration. And another challenge is computational time, of course. of the fracture network characterization using the geomechanical models is time consuming and CPU intensity task also that considers a couple PDE acquisition equations in the subsurfaces. For example, here on this image you can see the issue. We in some area we don't know what kind of fracture networks can be presented, and we need to simulate or create network. In our approach, current research, we propose to use the machine learning algorithm to recreate this area. Main objective is to extend the fracture network model by incorporating the machine learning algorithm in 2D, predicted the parameter of the fracture in porous media. In the previous our research, we make the similar work for the simulation for the hidden area. As you can see on the screen, some simulation of the hidden area. In this presentation, you can see the main outlines of our presentation. Let's start. Let me introduce two main definitions to clear or define our approach. First of all, about the fractures. Fractures contains the branch or segments. Each segment contains a midpoint. This is basis for the fractures. From this midpoint, we can calculate the azimuth angle. We can calculate the distance between the fractures. The azimuth angles, what is it? Is the angle between the north vector and fractures. The main idea of this research is to predict the angle of the fracture based on the historical or recognized area. And we try to predict by some segments. As you see on this image, on this figure, we have 8 segments, and we try to predict the angle, azimuth angle in each segment. As you already understand, this is multi-label classifications. On the right side, you can see our flow chart of the fracture algorithms. We have 2 cases, and we try to create 2 hypotheses. First of all, we create a data set based on the 6 closest fractures. In other cases, it's just user coordinates of the fractures. In next step, it was splitting of the dataset, and it's we have 2 ways to split the dataset to train for the train and test dataset. First, it's randomly splitting, and second part, it's splitting by known area and hidden area. In our numerical result, we selected the region near of the Balkhash Lake region in Kazakhstan, in the red rectangle. This is our area of interest. In this area, there are several gold and copper mines in this region. As I said, we select some Balkhash Lake region with fracture networks. Below, you can see the distribution of azimuth of angle. As from this figure, we can see this is non-normal distribution. There are two patterns of angles. You see this main patterns and another part of the angles. As I said in the previous, we provide 2 ways of splitting of our dataset by randomly and another part by hidden or area. For example, here you can see in Balkhash Lake, we hide one random area, and our target to recreate the fracture for this hidden area. In our approach, to check our hypothesis, we choose the light GBM algorithms and to train and evaluate our models. First of all, we split our dataset on the segments. As you can see on our dataset is unbalanced, and some classes not contain the fractures. Just only 4 classes contain some fractures in the segments. And we try to predict the angle in the class in these segments. For the random selection, for the near of the 6 closest fractures for the train test dataset, we have this dataset. For the coordinates, just only choose coordinates of the fractures. The dataset is different because we have more fractures, and we evaluate our model based on the precision, recall, and F1 score. And we more focus on F1 scores because our dataset is unbalanced. For the 6 close fractures, we see that result is good just only for the class 0. Another class, it's more worse scores matrix F1 for this dataset. And for the just only coordinates, the F1 score more close, more similar. It's concerning about the random selection for the train and split of the train and test dataset. Let's look about the case when we hide area. And we try to recreate fracture based just only in this area, and known area we just use for the train. What we have for the 6 fractures, we see that problem with 0 classes, but in other classes it's more similar. It's more than 16%, let's say like that. For the coordinates, just only location, let's say like that. F1, it's very less than, let's say, 20%. It's not good. And from this case, from the hidden area, we see that that set with 6 fractures closest catch the pattern of the fractures propagation on the known area, and take this model takes this pattern and propagate for the hidden area. For the location dataset, model cannot found the main trend of the this is known fractures, and propagation is not good. In our conclusion, in this research, we integrate LightGBN and for the classification fracture network azimuth. Before we use sequential Gaussian simulation for simulate the hidden area. And we second part, we see that LightGBN show better results for the creating fracture geometry based for the unknown area. This is example is more real for real problem for the oil and gas industry. Model 3 has good results for dataset with coordinates and randomly split it. It's maybe useful when we don't have too much data, just only location, and this case can be useful for just very fast calculation and just first iteration to understand what kind of fracture network can be. As another model 2, it's predict more better for containing the features with 6 neighbors for the hidden area. As I said previously, it's more real problem. In our future research, we more concentrate to use deep learning algorithms such as LSTM to predict azimuth, and it will be a regression problem, not multi-label classification. Here you can see our references for current presentation. And thank you for your attention. If you have questions, I will be glad to answer.
Thank you. So again, any questions for that presentation? Anyone? I think.
Harmut, I have a question.
There you go, please.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. It's very interesting, and I think there could be many applications for groundwater flow, for example. How do you validate your algorithm? Because you seem to be generating realistic fracture networks. How do you know that that's a correct simulation, for example? How do you validate your results?
Thank you for your question. This is very good question to validation our model, because it's subsurface and a lot of uncertainty there. And for this research, we use the fractures based on the ground. In previous research, we use different way to validation. For example, we use injection and production based on the fractures networks on the subsurface. We can estimate what kind of flow, what kind of depth it can be if we use this fractures network, and we compare what is realistic. It's done more the let's say plot of the debit is more close to real or not, based on the created fracture networks.
Thank you. Any more questions? That does not seem to be the case. So again, thank you, Timur, for your presentation. And from what I see, I would now go on to the next presentation and ask Vladimir if he's ready to do the presentation.
Thank you.
Vladimir, you're presenting a work together with Paul Mikkel, Christopher Kelbley, Anna Lindhos, and Alexandra Fine. And the topic is simulation of total phosphorus in Biscayne Bay in the USA. Vladimir, the floor is yours.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, let me open my presentation and please. Let's see. Sharing. One moment, please. Bear with me. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can. Yes, now it's perfect.
I'm sorry, can you see my presentation now?
We can.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and begin. Okay, thank you very much. This research was done in collaboration with Paul Mikkel, Chris Cabell, Anna Lindhos, and Alexandra Fine. In my presentation, first I will introduce you to the study area, Biscayne Bay, and I will talk about the nutrient enrichment problem, in particular phosphorus in the bay. I will present our approach to estimate phosphorus in the bay through a water quality model. We'll show some computational experiments and draw conclusions from those experiments. Biscayne Bay is an estuary located in Florida's Atlantic coast. During the last years, the last decades, a rapid urban growth have occurred, and that have increased runoff and nutrient transport from inland watersheds to the bay. Therefore, management of contaminant sources is needed to avoid eutrophication of the bay and surrounding water bodies. During the month of December 2018, several water quality monitoring stations located in Central Biscayne Bay reported total phosphorus concentration peaks ranging from 0.03 to 0.052 milligrams per liter. These high presentations are these high concentrations are 40 times the observed total phosphorus median concentration measured at offshore locations near the ocean boundary, and 9 times the observed total phosphorus median concentration at coastal stations. And that was a pattern that was observed in other water quality stations within the bay. We performed a preliminary analysis of historical total phosphorus data for more than 12 years, and found out that, for example, at offshore locations, at station BB37, shown here in a red rectangle, concentrations greater than 0.03 had a probability of exceedance of only 1.5%. And at coastal locations, for example, at Bisc 101, a station located close to the coast, 0.03 concentrations had a probability of exceedance of only 2%. 0.03 milligrams per liter are more or less 10 times the medium concentration of observed throughout Biscayne Bay. So, based on our observations of historical data, we cannot ascertain where this total phosphorus is coming from. And of course, for water quality modeling purposes and simulation, it is important to know where this total phosphorus originated. Either came from inland watersheds, or it may have come from the ocean. So we are testing 3 hypotheses. The first one is that total phosphorus peaks observed in December 2018 come from algae or phytoplankton blooms. The second hypothesis is that the total phosphorus peaks come from a sudden release of high concentration total phosphorus poles at the coast, and these poles could be transported hydrodynamically throughout the bay. And the third hypothesis is that these total phosphorus peaks come from the ocean through the Biscayne Bay's connection to the ocean. To test the first hypothesis, if algal blooms are the source of the reported 2018 total phosphorus peaks, if we take this hypothesis as true, then increased chlorophyll A concentration should also have been observed in the bay. As you know, chlorophyll A is an indicator of algal biomass. So if the total phosphorus came from algal biomass, then chlorophyll A should have increased. Also, if algae or other suspended solids connected with this algae bloom would have originated the total phosphorus peaks, then the light attenuation throughout the water column would have also occurred. And this light attenuation would have been reflected in attenuation coefficients measured during those times. hypothesis 2 and 3 were tested using the water quality model that was developed for this research. In hypothesis 2, we have chosen two streams that drain to Biscayne Bay. The first one is Black Creek. It's a small stream, but near the outfall of Black Creek, there is a wastewater treatment plant, and it is possible that because of malfunctioning of the wastewater treatment plant, a high peak of 1 milligram per liter may have occurred. 1 milligram per liter is at least 100 times higher than the median total phosphorus concentration observed in the bay. So it's a very high peak. We have also chosen the Maury Canal, that is the main freshwater contributor to Central Biscayne Bay. And we've implemented a 0.084 milligram per liter total phosphorus peak in this canal to see if that may have originated the total phosphorus peaks observed throughout the bay. In hypothesis 3, we've simulated two total phosphorus pulses at the ocean boundary to see if those pulses may have caused the total phosphorus peaks observed in December 2018. With regards to the question if total phosphorus comes from algae blooms, we have plotted chlorophyll A and light attenuation coefficient for 10 years, observed at a coastal station and an offshore station. And if you see in the slide, chlorophyll A concentrations were not particularly high during November, December 2018, either in the coastal station or the offshore station. Similarly, the light attenuation coefficient, the absolute value of the light attenuation coefficient was not particularly high also at those dates, November and December 2018. So this discards the hypothesis that total phosphorus concentrations are connected to algae or phytoplankton. To test if the total phosphorus concentration peaks that occur in December 2018 in Biscayne Bay come from the mainland, we've implemented two pulses at the streams that we selected, Black Creek and Maury Canal. At Maury Canal, that has a high stream flow value compared to other streams in Central Biscayne Bay. We've implemented a 0.087 milligram per liter pulse of total phosphorus. However, our simulation showed that the maximum spatial reach of the total phosphorus plume in the bay is limited and does not reach all the Biscayne Bay, all the stations, all the water quality stations in Biscayne Bay. Then we have implemented a very high pulse of 1 milligram per liter at Black Creek. As I said before, near the outfall of Black Creek, there is a wastewater treatment plant. So that's possible. But again, the spatial reach of the contaminant plume is very small. So that also is not, could not have generated the total phosphorus peak that was observed throughout the bay. Although it is unlikely to have too high total phosphorus pulses two locations at the same time, we have simulated that case, but also the spatial reach of the contaminant plume, of the total phosphorus plume, in this case is also limited. So it seems to be that the total phosphorus peaks observed in December 2018 in Biscayne Bay were not originated by total phosphorus that from streams that drain to Biscayne Bay. To the question if TP comes from the ocean, we have simulated two pulses, two contaminant pulses, two total phosphorus pulses implemented at the boundary. The first one was a sudden pulse of 0.0443 milligrams per liter. And we can see that total phosphorus concentrations reach a good amount of a good area of total central Biscayne Bay, but coastal locations have total phosphorus concentrations reaching only 0.01 milligrams per liter. So this sudden pulse of total phosphorus at the ocean boundary may not have originated the peaks observed in December 2018. However, if we have a moderately high pulse sustained by 1 week at the ocean boundary, in this case, the value of the pulse was 0.024 milligrams per liter, half of the previous case, we see that over time, concentrations in the bay reach similar concentration value ranges observed in December 2018. So we can state as conclusions of our research that the water quality simulations show that the total phosphorus peaks observed throughout Biscayne Bay during December 2018 were most probably caused by a surge in total phosphorus in the Atlantic Ocean, and that surge could be of approximately 1 week to generate the total phosphorus peaks throughout the bay. Our analysis of historical chlorophyll A and light attenuation coefficient data show that it's not likely that algae blooms or phytoplankton blooms have generated the total phosphorus peaks of December 2018. And also our simulations show that sudden release of high concentration total phosphorus pulses at the coast did not likely generated the total phosphorus peaks observed throughout the bay in 2018. And with that, I conclude my presentation, and thank you very much for your attention, and I am open to questions.
Thank you, Vladimir, for your presentation. And as you said, any questions, any comments for that presentation? No one. I think the methodology that you presented was very clear. So it's for me no problem that there's no presentation. You made your point, and we got it. Thank you, Vladimir.
Thank you, Armut. Thank you very much, everyone.
All the best to you. See you next year. And we can move on to the next presentation, which is the last in the row here. It's a presentation on agricultural crops and spatial distribution of migrants. It's a case study in the Campania region in southern Italy. The authors are Giovanni Mauro, Maria Ronza, and Claudio Socio di Simone, and Giovanni Mauro will be presenting, I presume. Correct? Giovanni? Giovanni, can you hear me? Please unmute your mic.
Yes,
Yeah, now we can hear you. Giovanni,
yes,
it is your turn to present.
yes. You see my presentation now?
Yes, we do.
Okay, thank you. I would like to, first of all, apologize for my late.
No problem.
Because I don't realize the difference
We,
of time.
we just changed the order and it's perfect.
Okay.
Your turn now.
Okay, thank you. I first of all, I want to thank the organizer of this international conference. I want to present this this paper, this work that I realized with the colleague Ronza Maria from the University of Naples Federico II and the colleague De Simone Claudio of the University of Rome Tor Vergata. We work about migrants and the special distribution of migrants in our region, Campania region in the south of Italy. First of all, over the last 20 years, migration has become a significant component of the Italian population. According to the official sources, in Italy, there are now more than 5 million migrants, about the 8.5% of the total population, with an increasing trend. Due to the different job opportunities, the distribution in Italy is uneven. Nearly 60% live in the north, 25% in the center, while only 12% in the south. They are mainly employed in the services and in the manufacturing sectors. Only there are mainly Romanians, Moroccans, Albanians, Indians, but African and South Asian groups have rapidly increased in the recent years. Their presence is today a structural factor for the agricultural sector, and their ratio in relation to the Italian farmers is constantly increasing. Despite their working condition, despite this, the working conditions are frequently characterized by illegal occupation, undeclared work, and earner below limits. So we refer to a new slavery. This is a widespread trend in Italy, but it is most prevalent in the south, where the proportion of migrants employed in agriculture is higher. Migrants are agricultural workers ready to do any job. This cost-cutting migrant workforce is composed of invisible people scattered across farmland, often occupying abandoned or disused farmhouses or creating new ghettos. A prevailing uncertainty about the data makes any research about migration more difficult. Our target, our aim is to investigate the relationship between the spatial distribution of migrants in the Campania region and the work opportunities in the agricultural sector. Using the census data, the Italian National Institute of Statistics, ISTAT, we can apply spatial auto-correlation techniques to map significant clusters of municipalities characterized by migrant groups classified by continent or from agriculture, crops, or breeding activities, in which migrants are usually involved. Our study area is our region, Campania. Campania is a south region of Italy, is a predominantly hilly and mountainous region. where plains account for about a quarter of this territory and are generally very densely populated. Despite this territory maintains a very high biodiversity. The cultivation, the so-called Mediterranean trade, it means wheat, leaves, and wine, is characterized agriculture in this area. But there are other excellent agri-food products, such, for example, the famous buffalo mozzarella. The European quality label, such as the protected designation of origin, promote and protect these products by bending them to the territory and landscape in which they are made. The number of farms in our region is quite relevant, but usually they are family farms of small size, very small. The trend in average farm area is growing, but it is still an atomized agricultural system. Cereals, fruit, vegetables, and livestock are the main important sector of agriculture. Our data are the General Census of Agriculture dated on 2011 and the 15 General Census of Population and Housing realizing the same year. We had to consider this old data because the first result of the current census of agriculture are available only at the regional level in this moment. About our methodology, as well known, the purpose of cluster analysis is to create a group of statistical units as a collective. So the units in the same group are similar to each other, and there is a maximum dissimilarity to the units comprising in the opposing group. We use the local indicator spatial association, LISA, to define the aggregate value of in our study area in relationship with the highest level of similarity with neighboring municipalities. We did the same to take the correlation to spatial distribution of foreign people in the work in the primary sector. The EU indices that we use are the local Mora the first and the GI statistics measurement. In summary, the cluster analysis workflow of our research is the following. We collect and we analyze the data of the National Institute of Statistics, about foreign variable about agriculture. We compare the LISA and GETIS of GIS cluster market foreign people in order to understand what is better. We analyze the GETIS or GI cluster market migrant and of agricultural variables. And finally, we overlay in the GIS platform the cluster analysis data with those of agricultural places. About this autopopulation techniques, by comparing the cluster obtained two cluster indices, local moral the first and GETIS or GI statistics measure, it can be decided that the GETIS or GI index is more suitable for our research data set because it's able to track an increasing number of clusters at the opposite end of a smaller number of elements that are unclustered. So we decided to consider the second algorithm, GETIS or GI. About the results. Okay, as we can see in this map, This is the map of the cluster of migrants group in our region. The total migrant groups, okay, we can see that there are two main clusters called clusters, sorry. One in the south of our region, close to the city of Salerno, okay, and the second is close to the plain of Caserta. If we consider the different groups of migrants, we can see that the European, mainly West European people, is living in the south of region, close to the plain of Sele. On the other hand, the African people live in the north, close to the river Volturno and the coastal area in the north of our region. While the Asian group, okay, is most widespread, but it live also close to the Nepal, the main city of our region. On the other hand, we can consider the maps cluster of the agricultural sector. In this sense, we consider horticulture, citrus and orchard, apple farm, and poultry distribution. We can see the main cluster map of our horticulture are between the Volturno and Nepal and Vesuvio zone. On the other hand, the orchard and the citrus are located close to the main city, okay, Naples, but also on the volcano Vesuvio. While buffalo farms are located in correspondence of the plain of Volturno plain, Caserta plain, and Sele plain. Okay. Finally, we overlap with okay, just the first result highlight how much the recent changes in the agricultural sector have weighted on the different migration components. In a regional context characterized by a pulverized agricultural structure, the farming and the low plains were quite an exception. This implies of a more organized, modern, and competitive agricultural sector capable of utilizing its workshop even for seasonal activity. And this is probably why the presence of African migrants, like Asian migrants, are so important in the Caserta and Sele plain. Caserta, for example, remains one of the blackest provinces in Italy. But now the presence of African people is certainly more scattered within the territory. If you consider the people from Europe, the presence of people, migrants of people, is also quite important. There are mainly Albanian, Bulgarian, Romanian, Ukrainian, and they are engaging in other crops, for example, tobacco. Additionally, in the province of Caserta, these European migrants are often employed in the horticulture, in the greenhouse, or in the livestock sector. More difficult is to define the relationship between Asian groups and agriculture and citrus fruit-related work in the Vesuvius area. This is because this is probably due to the significant presence of in this land of the Chinese community, which participate in the manufacturing and of textile and clothing. Just a final remark. With this research, we try to define just a trend, not a rule, because there are several different factors difficult to do this, because the uncertainty of data, migrants, the low relevance of agriculture in general, okay, and job opportunity for migrants, but also because it is a social issue. On the other hand, we want to update our research with the current data of the census of migration, because we want to give greater awareness to the increasing role of migrants in our society. So our work is all. Okay. I want to thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Giovanni, for your presentation. And again, any questions and comments on the topic? And I see also one of your co-authors, Maria, is online. Maybe she might want to add something.
I don't know, Maria.
She's muted.
No, I don't know.
All right. Then I would like to ask you a question, Giovanni. You have presented this research, an analytic research. If you compare what you have found with the reality on the ground,
Yes.
what would you say?
Of course, because this research start from the reality. In our province, I am from the University of Campania. Our university is located in Caserta province, and in our province there is a ghetto, okay, like a ghetto, an enclave, as do you want, is located from 40 kilometers from here. In effect, in this place is very famous at national level, national scale, for big problems with Nigerian people living here.
Yeah.
There are several research about that. Usually there are research, anthropological research or sociological research, but there aren't research, geographical research using GIS for the problem that I saw before. No, the reality is complex. It's hard to define a rule between the spatial distribution of migrants and they work, but we try. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Any more questions and comments? I don't see anyone wanting to comment or add something. So your presentation ends our session, the third Geo and Mod session. I see that not all presenters of this session are online still. Anyway, I would like to thank all of you who have presented virtually to this session. I would like to thank those who have taken part in the session physically. And this ends the third GeoM Mod session. I hope to see those who are here present in Athens at some other sessions with different topics. And for those who have presented, we all in Athens wish you a very good day, and maybe see you next time in one of the conferences in presence. So thank you all presenters, and thank you the audience. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Okay, thank you. It all went well. Are we running out of time? I did the job. All right. Thank you for the technical assistance. Everything went well. Ja, das ist die Frage, wer ihn eingeladen hat. Der hat mich nicht selber eingeladen. Ich habe diese Einladung gekriegt. Wenn ihr nur fragt, könnt ihr das einfach auch ausgeschrieben. Das ist im Prinzip die griechischen Kollegen. Das ist schon praktisch eine Erklärung. Klar, ich glaube, es ist sehr die sozusagen jetzt gerade was gemacht haben. So in der Vergangenheit, würde ich sagen, hat sich gezeigt, dass man nicht als wählerisch gewesen hinsichtlich des Preises der eingeladenen wurde. Aber wurde das dann einfach. Also würde ich jedenfalls nicht irgendwo auch noch. Ja, wohl können wir gucken, ob jemand da ist, dann kann ich das mal fragen. Also so jetzt hat sich das Problem gelöst. Aber ja, 30. Ich kann das ganz normal, ich kann mal sagen, was das ist. Ihr sagt es nicht.
Μια τέχνικα δίπλα. Θέλω να τους πάρω φωτογραφίες. Σε έβγαλα στην τρεπότη μετά.
Δεν τρέπεσαι, παιδί. Τι λένε.
Δεν ξέρω. Δεν είναι μία της που κατάλαβες. Έχω πάει να την καταστήσω και... θα σκάσω μόνο μου.
Ποια είναι, δεν είναι σημαίνει.
Ja. Also,
Όχι, θα είναι το πρωί.
Δεν θα έχω άλλη τεχνικά να συστήνω. Δεν θα είναι ακριβώς έτσι. Δεν ξέρω, σε όλους του.
Είναι το 3,5 στον D.
Τζούλια, όποιον θες. Εγώ έχω ένα αύριο. Κάτσε να το αφήσω έτσι πέρα. Πέρα. Λοιπόν, αρχίζουμε. Σάρα Φαέδα.
Δεν ξέρω. Εμένα το είπε παιδάκι.
Ούτε πατσού, εγώ απαντάω. Πού να την ξέρω.
Ναι, μια αλλαγή μου έκαναν μόνο για λίγο.
Τώρα με αυτήν είχαμε μάθει ένα στον άλλον, δεν έκανε. Εγώ θα έκανα. Λέω με αυτήν που είχα τώρα, είχαμε μάθει ένα στον άλλον. Λέω δεν έκανε και τίποτα, εγώ τα έκανα όλα. Δεν είναι τώρα. Τώρα να δούμε για άλλο τι κάνει. Δεν θα είναι ένα περίεργο.
Δεν νομίζω όμως, βλέπω όχι πολύ χαλαρούς, βαρέθηκα τώρα.
Θα έρθει και τέτοια νομίζω. Σήμερα εδώ πέρα θα έρθει η δικιά σου που είναι. Δεν σου κάθεται καλά.
Πρέπει να συνάχουμε εδώ.
5, σήμερα 4. Λοιπόν, ξεκινάμε.
Κλάρο. Η Κιάρα είναι, αν σου φάνε τσέρ.
Όχι, δεν είναι. Θα ήθελα μόνιμα. Ήθελα να του μιλήσω κιόλας γιατί με έχει κάνει αναφορά και τα λοιπά.
Αλήθεια, χωρίς να το ξέρει δηλαδή.
Ναι, δεν με ξέρει από κοντά.
Και τώρα θα του πεις με έχεις κάνει αναφορά.
Θα μιλήσουμε τώρα, ναι. Ωραίος.
Αυτός τι είναι?
Είναι καθηγητής στο Αριστοτέλειο.
Σχολείο.
Πολιτικός μηχανικός. Και τώρα έχω, πρόσεξε. Σβήσαν τα φώτα.
Nee, also das, was wir heute Morgen gehört haben, was wir jetzt gerade wenn man bei den virtuellen Präsentationen machen musste. Ich fand interessanterweise ganz gar nicht mein Thema
Ένα φως που τέλος στο διαδρόμο.
Και λέει κινδύνη.
Αλλά εδώ πέρα μέσα...
Άστο έτσι.
Θα αφήσουμε
Είναι
έτσι.
πολύ σκοτεινό.
Τώρα έχει λίγο καθόλου.
Πάτα.
auch den bin ich weniger genau. So, heute Morgen. Genau, also der Andreas von leider so ebenso wie du gefragt hast. Also das ist das sind die Geschäftsbedingungen. Das ist auch okay.
Ξέρετε, η πλάτη που το πάτησε στο τσέαρ της είναι remote. Αυτή είναι τέχνητα και δεν παριέται, φαίνεται. Μου λέει μια παρουσίαση έμεινε, μου λέει. Ναι, αυτή σου λέω, είναι η τριλιάρα, ναι.
Εκτός άρα.
Θα δω τις άλλες δίπλα και οι άλλοι της δεν κάνει την τράπα. Είπε θα τελειώσει και θα κάνουμε τράπα, να έρθει πάλι στο δικό της.
Τι δεν έκανε. Δεν σου πω και έτσι.
Θα το κάνει. Τι θα κάνω, να πάω να χτυπάω τις πόρτες.
Ανοίξτε μου.
Das ist dieses Net Zero-Ding. Aber da steht auch einer auf der Da Francisco? Ja, der kann das vergessen. Der kann das vergessen. Okay.
Thank you again.
Welcome.
See you tomorrow.
Pleasure. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Ενώ το πρωί ήμουν
Πήγαινε, πέσε πίσω. Α, και δεν είδες ούτε την δεύτερη, ούτε την Αγγελική.
δεν είδα. Μα δηλαδή πραγματικά μόνοι μας τα λέμε. Εντάξει. Ναι, μα κάποια στιγμή ήταν έκανα κάποια πράγματα. Εσύ όχι δεν στο κοινό, και ξαναλάβω να τα πάει, γιατί ήταν σε ηλικία, που δεν σου καταλαβαίνω στο κοινό, και δεν έκανα σχέση. Είναι αυτό. Το κορίτσι. Όμως είχε και άλλο και άλλο. Μοιάστηκε. Θα μέρος από το πάνω.
Κάνει κρύο. Παιδιά, σας κρυώνω. Και άνοιξα τις πόρτες, άνοιξα τα παράθυρα.
Καλά έκανες. Εγώ ανεβάζω και λίγο τη θερμοκρασία καμιά φορά, να πούμε, ειδικά με το κλίμα, το ανεβάζω πολύ. Πρέπει να θέλω σήκωση.
Δεν έχω κλείσει. Έτσι ήταν.
Εγώ το πειράζω, δεν είναι 24 και αυτό το έχω πάει και 27. Το έχω βάλει δίπλα 22.
Το χειμώνα ή 21. Εντάξει, το φέρνει κάτι. Ωραία.
Πόσο είναι. Και είναι κάποιοι που ξέρεις, που κατεβάζουν κάτω από το 20. Εγώ δεν σε έχω να αυτό. Αυτό είναι ακραίο. Νομίζω...
Εντάξει, μας 22. Ξέρω για το σπίτι πόσο.
Να σου πω κάτι, μου δεν είναι ότι δεν είχες. Και είχε πιο πολύ ζέστη.
Και κρύο, δεν κάνει πολύ ζέστη.
Δεν κάνει.
Και πώς είναι.
Ναι, αλλά ίσως εγώ σε ένα άλλο το είχα, ότι τα ξαφνικά, ότι έχω πιστεύει ίσως, ότι το έχω συνδέσει με ταινίες. Στις ταινίες που έχουμε δει, φτιάχνουν τον χρόνο, πόσους ορίζονες έχουν καλή, λίγο έργο, λίγο έτσι, εκεί πέρα είναι...
Αλλά μόνο τα απόγευμα, για 2 ώρες.
Σαν το κόμμα. Είναι το
Κάθε μέρα. Όλα αλλάζει. Έχει δηλαδή. Όχι δηλαδή αγγλία, να ψυχαλίζει. Πρέπει να βρέξει. Καλά.
Και εσύ είχες πάει γιατί προέκυψε υποτροφή,
Εγώ είχα πάει γιατί ήταν η πρώην μου.
αλλά βρήκες
Τη γυναίκα μου, η οποία είναι από εκεί και αυτή, αλλά
τέλεια.
γιατί είχα πάει για την πρώην τότε. Δηλαδή δεν τη γνώριζα ακόμα τη γυναίκα μου αυτό.
Δηλαδή η πρώην ήταν Μεξικάνη και τη γνώρισες εδώ, ας πούμε.
Ναι.
Αλήθεια. Σε συνέδριο πού, σε ποια χώρα.
Σε ποια πόλη. Ευθεία. Δεν ήταν κάποιο συνέδριο. Έγινε γύρω από το μοιραίο. Μείναμε μαζί καιρό. Και μετά έφυγα, εγώ πήγα Μεξικό, όλα καλά. Όταν πήγα Μεξικό, 26.
Ναι, και το συνέδριο κάπου εκεί δηλαδή, της Βενετίας.
Συνέδριο την γνώρισα,
24, λίγο νωρίτερα.
είχε έρθει η Ελλάδα, είχα πάει κι εγώ, είχαμε πάει δηλαδή, πολλά ταξίδια και πήγα μόνο να πλέον εκεί. Στα 26, τα παιδιά σου το φάω.
Και οι δικοί σου πόσους το πήραν τότε.
Ναι, ήθελα στα πολύ.
Έλεγαν τον Δίληξ αυτοί.
Λοιπόν, λίγο τώρα γύρισα για την ώρα. Δεν έχω χάσει το αστό. Ναι, δεν έχω χάσει το πατέρα. Το δεύτερο εξάμεινο του διδακτορικού.
Μάλιστα.
Οπότε, αν το δείχνω πολλές φορές.
Αδέρφια, εσείς. Είναι
Αλλά έχει μεγάλη διαφορά η ηλικία. Δηλαδή, εγώ είμαι 18, αυτή είμαι 51. Γιατί ο μπαμπάς ήταν ναυτικός και έκανε την αδερφά δηλαδή τώρα.
Όταν ήταν μικρή, ας πούμε.
Και ταξίδευε μετά, ταξίδευε πολύ. Έβγαζε κανένα λεφτά, ταξίδευε πολύ. Και με διέγγιωσε η μάνα μου ξανά. Άφαντος πάλι. Λόγω δουλειάς. Του λέει Δημήτρη, δεν μπορώ να τα μεγάλω τα παιδιά μου. Ήταν 1,5 χρόνο όταν ήρθε η αδερφή μου. Δηλαδή, όταν ήρθε ο πατέρας μου για να δει την αδερφή μου, ήταν 1,5 χρόνο. Δεν την είχα δημιουργήσει, γιατί δούλευε. Βέβαια, αρχίσαμε να είναι καλά 4 σπίτια. Αλλά έχει κόστος αυτό. Και του λέει δεν θέλω να τα μεγαλώνω. Οπότε ρίχνει το ένα αδερφάκι μας, δεν ξέρω τι να ήταν. Μετά τα ίδια πάρα πολύ. Δεν θα μπορέσει να το πράγμα την πόλη, είχε μεγαλώσει καλλιόπη την πόλη. Έχουμε την κομπίτσα, λέει τώρα δεν θα την άφηνα, δεν ξεχάσει. Και ήρθε καλά. Γι' αυτό μου αυτή τη διαφορά. Και μου λέει, σε κράτησα εσένα για να με παιδεύεις. Και όταν λοιπόν μετά, πολλές φορές, και αφού έφυγε ο πατέρας μου, ο πατέρας του εκτός ιστορίας ήταν ότι έφυγε και εγώ φέρνει. Δηλαδή, έφυγε μια εβδομάδα που δεν έφυγε νησικό. Έφυγε σε κανένα.
Ήταν κάτι το οποίο ήταν μη αναμενόμενο.
Περίμενα, ήταν μη αναμενόμενο. Αυτό είναι το καλό.
Έτσι, έχω χάσει ένα φίλο μου, 50 χρονών. Είναι εξωτό. Τρία παιδιά πίσω. Και το βράδυ, τέλος πάντων, που έφυγε από τη ζωή, το έπαθε στον ύπνο του και κοιμόταν μαζί με τον Μασαίο, τον γιο του. Ήταν παιδιά, δηλαδή ο μεγαλύτερος ήταν πρώτη ηλικίου τότε σκέψου. Και ήταν σε ένα βράδυ, απλά το προηγούμενο απόγευμα, είχε πάει σε μια γιαγιά εκεί, μια θεία που την είχε, της λέει: δεν είμαι καλά, λέει, ξανάρθεσέ μου. Μόνο αυτό, η μόνη ένδειξη και το βράδυ έτσι δεν ξέχασε.
Αυτό είναι το καλό που δεν πονάει.
Ναι, εννοείται.
Πονάει πολύ τους άλλους, γιατί δεν το περιμένουν. Τέλος πάντων, από τότε η μητέρα μου τον εξηγώ 6 φορές. Πολλές φορές με έχω πεις και δεν ξέρει για αγγλικά τίποτα. Φτάσαμε σε χαρτάκι και εγώ η αδερφή. Και ερχότανε, εκεί γνώρισε και την Δανάη είναι η Δανάη και η Βαπά, οι δύο ειδικές. Η Δανάη γνώρισε εκεί, προφανώς εκεί είδες και εσείς και την Βαπά. Και όταν άρχισα και μιλάγουμε εγώ, έλεγα, να το πόσο το πώς το μπορεί. Περνάει ο καιρός. Είναι και πολλά τα λεφτά. Για να πάμε εμείς από εκεί, να έχουμε από εκεί εμείς, θέλαμε 4.000. Κάθε εισιτήριο είναι 4 άτομα. Προφανώς και τώρα το λέω είναι. Τι είχαμε,
μείναμε στα εισιτήρια.
Ναι, και έτσι η ευκαιρία είναι το παγκόσμιο, μου λέει ελληνικά, λέω, να πάω, να δοκιμάσω. Γεια σας και στρατηγία. Τελειώσαμε γιατί ήταν όλα virtual.
Τώρα δεν έχει να προσθέσω. Μόνο το μόνο δίπλα που έκανε οι άρχιστες, πρέπει να πάω εδώ.
Γιατί θα έχω στο μόνο μια φιλική νομίση και θέλω να φορτώσουν και θα
Εντάξει, αλλά δεν είσαι, θα αφήσεις. Δεν είσαι πολύ, δεν βάζει κεφάλι.
εντάξει, ξέρετε, αυτά τα φοβάμαι. Μην κατεβάζει το αύριο και τέτοια, μην πρακτεί άμα φεύγεις. Δεν θα πάω. Δεν θα πήγαινες. Δεν θα πάω στη φορά μου, μην ένα τέτοιο. Άσε. Τι γίνεται. Έχεις λυσάξει το δικό σου τέτοιο.
Εγώ που διαβάζω. Ναι. Οι μικρές πόσο είναι?
Είναι 8 η Δανάη και 5 η Βαρβάρα. Και δύο γλώσσες.
Άρα και εσύ είναι μικρός. Ναι.
Να είσαι καλά.
Hello. Nice to meet you. It's Anna. I'm the chair.
Hello.
There is not Socrates for this evening.
I was going to come, and I was expecting it.
I'm here with Antonio Russo.
You are going to present? Okay. Do you want to give me your USB in order to store it, to store your presentation?
I just prepared my pen drive with 3 or 4 presentation PDF. Is that ce l'hai? La versione PDF, gli sto dando quella.
Sì, quella in PDF.
Okay, sì. We can control before our session.
Yes.
That all is okay.
It's the one that says Portuno and Russo, right?
Yeah, it's the first.
The first or the second, or the two of them?
No, Russo is the first.
Okay.
Facilitator is the last and the third.
Oh, we don't have the second.
But at this moment, I don't know if we have here virtual Asia and Aversa not
The
in
first
presence.
one is Antonio Russo. Antonio, so you are there. The second one is Ilaria del Ponte.
Yeah,
Okay. The third one,
but it's not in presence, it's virtual.
Ah,
Because
sì, sì,
Celestina
virtual.
Fazia
Because-
presents show the slides.
Okay.
And the final is correct.
Okay, so we have one that is virtual, the second one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not the
third
second,
one.
the third,
The
the
third,
third and the
third.
last.
Okay, no problem. In that case, we are going to just to check that they are going to connect.
Yeah.
You are going to welcome them as a chair, and you are going to ask them to share their screen, and that's it.
I think that my colleagues, Celestina Fazia is connected, like Clara Stella at this moment.
Mhm. There is some more that I have to store from here, or no?
Yes, you can. In any case.
Okay,
you can have
all of them.
here,
Okay, okay.
But both can share virtually.
Yes, they can.
That's work. Then you can follow in this case. And yeah? No.
Vai con il mouse alla parte bassa e si apre tutto.
Non ho messo quello prima. Devo dire che non si capisce niente, quindi non sono solo io. Ora hanno messo me.
Yeah. Clara Stella, good evening. How are you?
Good evening. Hi.
Can you hear me?
Fine. Thank you.
And
Are you hear me?
yeah, all is okay. It's possible
Okay.
to try to test the screen.
I'm sorry, I don't hear very well. Is it possible to make now the communication?
Clara Stella, I think that now is better because I'm in front of the laptop now. And I think that also we need to close the door. All is okay and now?
Yes.
Okay, great.
For me,
If
it's
you want,
okay.
you can try to test your PDF.
Yeah, I try to show.
Up here. That's great.
You can see it.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Please try to change your slide in order to understand them if all is okay.
Yeah.
Share your screen. Please share your slide. Cambia le slide, Clara Stella. Vediamo se funzionano.
No. No, così.
Con le frecce non riesci?
No, con le frecce sembra bloccato.
We think that are blocked.
I don't know why.
Aspetta, cerco.
One moment.
Okay. Yes, is this. You can share like full screen. And after that, you can change your slide.
For you, it's okay.
But full screen.
Full
A schermo
screen.
intero.
Con PDF.
E vista.
Fa lo schermo intero.
Vista. Vista.
Schermo intero non ce l'hai? Sì.
Attiva modalità tutto
Tutto
schermo?
schermo, sarà quella.
Ah, ok.
Okay, now it's correct. Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
We are waiting for the other colleagues, and after just 12 minutes, and we will start.
Okay.
Ornella, noi non ti vediamo, facciamo in distanza, già fatto la cosa sulla stella di comune,
Ho incontrato tra l'altro questi qua in Amados.
No, dite la signora deve cercare da banco per capire perché.
Are you here? Celestina? Ornella?
Good evening. Yes. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
At this moment we can verify your presentation.
Ok.
Prova a mettere a schermo intero la tua presentazione.
Sì, ok.
No, Ornella, non capisco se mi sente. No, forse sì. Non mi vedo. Non so se così è tolto.
No, non riesco a mettere la presentazione. Un attimo solo, vedo se riesco.
Perché ho la condivisione dello schermo.
Devo mettere in modalità schermo intero così.
Clara Stella, limita e chiudi il microfono.
Sì, così è chiuso.
No, ancora sentiamo.
Mi sentite?
Sì, devi chiudere il microfono.
No, immagino
No,
che
non
sì.
riesco a mettere in modalità
Mi
schermo.
sentite?
Sì, sì.
No, il mio cosa è chiuso il microfono, non sento manco loro.
Ornella, sei riuscita a trovare? Ecco, ora cominciamo a vedere il tuo schermo. Prova con il PDF.
Sì, è il PDF.
Con modalità
questo.
schermo intero.
Questo chiudilo. No,
Ok.
No, non scrivere niente.
No.
Sorry.
Secondo me l'avevo provato a mettere.
Okay. This is the slide of Clara Stella.
Io non li sento.
Oh, I understand that the screen is not of Celestina Fazzia, but Clara Stella Vicaria
Così
Vesso.
non sento io loro, però non li sento.
No, no. No.
Clara Stella, devi completare, devi chiudere la presentazione. Interrompi la condivisione dello schermo, Clara Stella, se no Ornella non può fare nulla.
Sì, aspetta.
No.
Devi chiudere. Da qualche lato avrai un tasto per chiudere la condivisione dello schermo.
O convieni che togli il collegamento.
Ecco, aspetta. Qua in basso.
Ok, va bene. Ornella, prova a condividere lo schermo adesso.
È già attivato?
Come?
Schermo intero, condividi. È condiviso?
No, non vediamo il tuo schermo, Ornella.
Non puoi collegare il PowerPoint che ti ho mandato?
Sì, posso mettere quello in PDF che ho io qua, però
Sì.
poi mi dici come cambiare.
No, procedi mentre io diciamo faccio la descrizione, mi segui un po' e lo...
We decide to share the screen of this laptop for the presentation, Professor Fazia. Okay? Okay.
Good evening, I am Celestina Fazia. Dialogue, the step-straight crossing system. What developments and opportunity? The coautori
Nella, scusaci, ancora non abbiamo iniziato. Appena condivido lo schermo, la sequenza è le presentazioni Russo, Del Ponte, Fazia, Aversa.
Ok.
Quindi vi darò la parola io.
Perfetto. Perfetto, ok.
Yeah, we need to wait 5:30. Tu ci sei, hai visto dove la presentazione sei a posto?
No, credo.
Good evening to everyone. Welcome to Opportuno Workshop. It's my pleasure. My name is Tiziana Campisi, and today I'm the chair of this section of this workshop that we can started with the first presentation, and I invite Dr. Antonio Russo to show his presentation titled Sustainable Maritime Passenger Transport, a Network Analysis Approach on a National Basis.
So, hello everyone. My name is Antonio Russo. I am a PhD student at the University of Bennatore, and I'm going to show our last work, Sustainable Maritime Passenger Transport, a Network Analysis Approach on a National Basis. Each word of this title is very important. Starting from the first word, sustainable. Sustainable, and in order to start our presentation, it's a good idea to recall the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and especially the 3 Sustainable Development Goals that has to be highlighted for our research, our sector, in terms of maritime passenger transport, especially SDG 9, Industry, Innovation and Infrastructure, SDG 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities, and obviously the 13th SDG, Climate Action, take urgent action to combat climate change and its impact. Very important because all of these 3 goals are related with maritime transportation, especially in order to better the link with between cities and ports on a side, on the other side, to reduce pollutant. So we want to start from the Italian case that will be studied, and especially to highlight how there is a strong difference in terms of transportation development between northern Italy and southern Italy. In a country like Italy, in which there is a high ratio of total kilometer of coastline with respect to the total surface, maritime transport may be very important, especially in a context in which there is a high difference. The map shows essentially the high-speed rate kilometers per 10,000 inhabitants on a regional basis. Data are taken from ISTAT and are related to year 2019. So more or less all of the high-speed rail system in Italy, only to give you an example of this difference between northern and southern Italy, are on the Tyrrhenian and the northern part of the country. In terms of maritime transportation, the reform of 2016 has created 15 port system authorities to have all the coastal systems of Italy. So we have 15 port system authorities that, and later that year, then they became 16 with the introduction of the straight port authority area, Messina and Reggio Calabria, that was divided from the southern Tyrrhenian and Ionian port system authorities. The idea of port system authorities are that of a sort of 4th generation port, so different agglomeration of port that can cooperate in even in different situations. Like, for example, the classical cases, I will show the picture of the Øresund Bridge between Malmö and Copenhagen as an example of the 4th generation port, in which 2 ports of 2 different countries are under the same administration, but we have also more interesting examples from the world. For example, the port aggregation of Ningbo and Zhoushan in mainland China. So, what is our methodology? We want to study essentially the relationship between several port authorities in terms of the passenger transport. So, which is the network of the Italian passenger transport between different port authorities. We want to essentially study this. Okay, we have to define, bringing some methodologies from network analysis, we want to define essentially one thing, a graph that may describe the network based on the existence, yes or not, of direct link between one port belonging to a port authority and another port belonging to another port authority. So we want to represent, in order to apply some methodology that will be shown in next slide, we want to highlight how port authority systems are related between each other on the Italian network. So we want also to define several indicators, because each indicator shows different information and allow us to understand different information. Indicators are shown in this slide. The first icon is basically the number of direct links existing from a node under the total number of node -1. The second, and show essentially the number of links of each node, so of direct link of each node. Second, represent strength centrality, represent the sum of the total weight. We have also to define a weight that will be defined in the next slide. And finally, the eigenvector centrality, also the value of the eigenvalues, eigenvectors associated to eigenvalue V that can solve the equation AV equal to RV. So these are three indicators. This is the graph that we can find. So 15 ports belonging to different port authorities, all of them on the Tyrrhenian Sea. In a second moment, we will see what are the difference between Tyrrhenian Sea and Ionian and Adriatic Sea, all of them from Tyrrhenian Sea. And in order to study the characteristics in terms of port authority, we have also aggregated them to create a port system authority graph. We have also to define the weight. In some slides ago, we defined the weight WEJ. So the weight is represented over the number of services that exists on a weekly basis from a port system authority E to another port system authority J. This is the actual situation. So, and this will be the graph that we are gonna study. So, all more or less near all the port system authorities on Tyrrhenian Sea, while no port system authorities on Ionian Sea and Adriatic Sea. So, these are the results that are very interesting because the three market port system authorities, you can see Northern Tyrrhenian and Central Northern Tyrrhenian Sea, show same values both in CE and WE, with only the difference that the North Tyrrhenian has a higher value of SE. On the other side, this result may seem obvious, but it's not so, because the highest value for all three indicators are from the two islands, Western Sicily and Sardinia Sea. But Western Sicily has the highest value of SE and PE, while Sardinia has a higher value in terms of SE. SE because of the great number of links that occur from Sardinia to mainland, while on the other side, Sicily is related to mainland with a ferry on the Messina Straits, with a ferry system on Messina Straits, so between Reggio and Reggio Calabria and Messina, but both cities on both sides of the straits are under the same port system authorities, so are not considered as a link in this evaluation. Another interesting thing is that, for example, Central Tyrrhenian Sea, the area of Naples and the straits, has the same value of sea, so have the same number of links, but has a different values of B. Why? Because the vector centrality B allow us to understand not only the number of links, but also the numbers of links weighted for the strength of the port of destination. So, for example, in order to explain this difference, coming back to our graph, Southern Mediterranean, Central Mediterranean Sea, Naples is linked with Thrace, Western Sicily, and Sardinia. While on the other side, Eastern Sicily, Western Sicily, and Sardinia. While on the other side, Messina area, so Strait area, is linked with Naples, Palermo, Western Sicily, and not Sardinia, that has a great number of links, but Southern Tyrrhenian and Ionian, that is represented only by the port of Vibo Valencia. Let's consider that we are talking about passenger transportation, so we are not considering, for example, the great port of Gioia Tauro in this work. So this is more or less a short synthesis of what we have seen, and obviously a major great centrality of both ports from Sardinia and Western Sicily on a side. First important results: difference between an open basin Adriatic Sea, that is Italian on a side, and Slovenian, Croatian, Bosnian, Greek, Albanian on the other side. So an open basin, while a closed basin that is more or less all its surface covered by bounded by Italy, so only Corsica is not bounded by Italy. So a great difference between open basin and closed basin, while another important relationship comes from the great importance of Western Sicilian Sea, because it is very central in the Adriatic, in the Tyrrhenian network, very central. While on the other side, the Eastern Sicilian Sea, the port system authority of Catania, is not presented in this work because it does not directly link by systematic service on a weekly basis. While on the other side, Catania is maybe good covered by an airport system very strong with all the rest of the peninsula. So, going to conclusion, only to making unparalleled remarks, what may be future development? First, probably study with same methodology other basins for other closed basins, for example, the Aegean one or the Balearic one on the side. On the other side, the possibility to enlarge this work to open basin, for example, the Adriatic side, to evidence is if it is more central, a port in Italy or a port in Croatia, Greece, for doing an example. Second, future development, possibility to study in combination with a maritime transportation network, the possibility to study network with other means of transportation to highlight if there are some different criticalities between different networks, as may be in the case of Catania, for example. Thank you for your attention.
Any question? Thanks, Antonio, for the presentation of this research that was made by authors Antonio Russo, Tiziana Campisi, Efstasios Bouras, Socrates Basbas, and Giovanni Tesoriere. And now I invite Ilaria Del Ponte to present her the research titled Island Port Areas for Optimal Networks Management in Genoa, from Planning Issues to Artificial Intelligence.
This is the desktop, and then, oh, sorry. Okay. Okay. So we can see. Okay. It's okay, perfect. So, good afternoon to everyone. I'm Ilaria Del Ponte, and this contribution is coming from the University of Genoa, and that Antonio mentioned before, because the reference that you showed is referred to Sata, Parola, and Musso, that are my colleagues of the University of Genoa, and I belong to the same research center of them. In particular, this contribution came from the Faculty of Engineering, because as you can see in the title, there is something technological inside, and my colleagues of the previous slide are from the economics faculty, so they studied port from the economical side. I'm a town planner, as many of us, I guess, and in the conference in general, because I was invited by planners, my colleague, and so this is my point of view, because even if these kind of issues are quite technological, I tried to, and this is the main interest of the paper, to match the so the port problems and the technological side, the opportunity offered by the new technologies improvements. It was a pleasure for me to participate to this session, because my career, my research interests are constantly grounded on the port issues, because I'm from Genoa, because I love too much, for my point of view, the transport issue. But in this case, what I want to say and discuss with you is about an opportunity that was given by the National Recovery and Resilience Plan in Italy, because we have many problems about the rationalization of peak traffics, maritime traffics. So I say something about Genoa. Genoa is a very stretched port, because we have the mountains at north and the coast at south. So we don't have many places to do. To manage maritime traffic. So for us, it's important to optimize these elements, and so we try to exploit the new improvement in this technological side and apply them, robotics and artificial intelligence, to the infrastructural network. So the National Recovery Plan funded this RAISE ecosystem, whose acronym is Robotics and Artificial Intelligence for Socio-Economical Empowerment, that is based on Genoa, but a part of the funding will be deployed also in the southern part of Italy, especially in Puglia, because it's one of the aim of the funding by the plan, the Italian plan, was to deploy at the north and at the southern part. Focusing on the main research interest that I mentioned before, the Spoke 4 is centered on an intelligent and sustainable port. Here you can see also the logo of RISE, and the project started in autumn 2022. From the prototype point of view, we can say that we are at an early stage of the project, so at the very beginning, but we can draw also some reflection, especially for, the intention is to correctly grounded these the expectation of this project into the planning field, because even if this project is a technological one, there are many concerns about the planning issue. Before look at the literature, we can give a glance on literature. We can say that Naderi and Shoyei, this author that you can see there, in 2023, so in other words now, showed very clearly how in the airport and port sector, the implementation, the interoperability between the new technology of digitalization and robotics that are the main focus of the RISE ecosystem are quite poor. So also only the Internet of Things is present, as you can see in the chart, but in the operation side, and the other part are quite lacking. So at the same time, there are big expectation on big data, machine learning, and Internet of Things, because by industry and by research, if you consider the current literature, these three keywords, big data, machine learning, and Internet of Things, are they are always present in every paper, and so we can say that. As Dickens said in the novel, great expectations are due to main reasons. One is the increase of safety for workers in the building construction sector as a whole. And the second item that is important is the overall sustainability that we can consider in the process of the infrastructural sector and the building construction sector. So these are the main expectations that are due to two main reasons. Then we can come better in the case study. I already mentioned Genoa for the university, but then we can talk a little bit about the port, as my colleague before has already showed you. Genoa is 2 million passengers per year hub, and about 70 million tons of goods per year port. And even if we are stretched by in the middle between mountains and the coast, we are always, we can say for a long time, the first Italian port, because even if we have many limitations and constraints from the territorial point of view, Genoa is always the first port because of its traditions and expertise in maritime affairs. And this limitation that can be considered as a bad thing, but this limitation made the port authority, port operators, traders to think about alternative solutions. This is one of the main topics that is tackled into the RISE ecosystem. That is the topic of the buffer areas. The buffer areas are remote areas external to the port. In the project, we consider two different kinds of buffer areas. The first is a kind of incentivated, simplified logistics zone in which you are incentived to make custom operation remotely, external to the port. And the second are technically parking areas in wait for the entrance of the port, and they can offer also some services for the hauliers, because we all know that the hauliers are today the categories of workers that sometimes they have to do their job in very bad situations. So it's a sort of also a rest areas for hauliers. And what about the RAISE project, which is the bridge between the RAISE project and the buffer areas? Because in our thought, an alternative thought to solve the problem of rationalize the traffic peak, we consider the buffer area system as a first piece of a digital twin of the port. No? So we can support the idea of buffer areas by means of the digitalization and robotics. So this is the main thought. About the geographical position of Genoa, this is the Tyrrhenian Sea, in which is located Genoa, and then you can see also the buffer areas differentiated by colors, the rest areas, and the buffer areas as simplified logistic zones. The most important thing that I want to point out to you, to the audience, is the fact that very strangely, RAISE was born in the right time, position, with the most effort the Port Authority is making in its strategical plan. So the two aim by the RISE ecosystem project and the strategical plan of the port meet together and tried to locate the project in the correct position between the territorial targets that the Port Authority want to achieve and a wider perspective due to technological improvement that the RISE ecosystem wanted to achieve for the funding reason of the National Recovery Plan. So these are some infos about the RISE ecosystem. We can see the research line, in particular the research line 2 and the research line 3 are the main taken into account in the paper. And we can also see the participants that are 25 among industries, small and big industries, and the research organisms. There is also social declination of sustainability inside the project, and two are, we all know that local actors, people, and all the port operators, the Port Authority have to be involved in the process and from the very beginning. So from the social point of view, the stakeholder engagement point of view, the project foresaw two main challenges. One is to improve the methodology of the stated and revealed preferences as interviews to the local stakeholders, and to apply a technology acceptance models in order to be sure that these kind of disruptive technologies are well understood, and then they became also acceptable by the workers and the port operators. This is my conclusion. To conclude, I want to underline again the symmetrical correspondence between the strategical plan of the port operator, the Port Authority, and the research line of the RISE ecosystem, because it's a conjunctural moment that is very fertile from our point of view, and this is a brilliant support by the RISE ecosystem to achieve territorial goals. And this is a good bridge for me, in my opinion, between the two exigencies, the improvement in technology, but also the achievement of the territorial goals, because without that, there is any growth, no possible growth. So that's for the attention.
Thank you, Ilaria, for your good research. Any question? I have just a curiosity.
Yeah.
I want to ask you if you consider like social gender gap and social or digital divide.
Yeah. in this context. About gender, we didn't focus in the writing of the project because of the very low percentage of the engagement in the of women in the port sector. But I think that we can consider this equity, this balanced category in the interviews. So we already planned this achievement to balance the interviews because even if the direct port operators, workers are not usually women, but in the management side or in the as officers, they are quite present, and so we can also investigate this perception. And the second is about the digital divide. This is the main topic that we want to tackle. Yeah. Thank you so much for the reply. After the research about the network analysis approach and also the optimal network management in Genoa, now it's a pleasure for me to present the research titled The Stable Strait Crossing System, World Developments and Opportunities, with author Celestina Fazzia, Tiziana Campisi, and Federica Sortino. Okay, I just here.
Yes.
Just a moment. Menu. View. Okay, full screen mode. Celestina, please start.
Okay. Good evening. I am Celestina Fazzia from University of Nacore. The title of my contribution is The Stable Strait Crossing System, What Developments and Opportunities. The co-author is Tiziana Campisi, here present. The bridge of Strait of Messina is a link between Messina and Reggio Calabria. Is a connection between Sicilia and Calabria with the European continent. It is necessary to start from a interpretation of the territory in order to new questions and the answer to today's need and restart and development of the areas concerned. The Strait of Messina has always been considered an evocative place rich in history, culture, and folklore. Its dense network of myths that has been woven for years on that portion of the sea that laps to lands. They are places of exchange, of connection, strips of lands that were born and developed around their overlooking the sea, characteristic that makes them unique and indispensable for the island and the continent. Their importance can be perceived in rich evocation. Think the myths of Scylla and Charybdis. Their strategic position has always made these waters and these two cities not only very important and attractive hub, but also crucial for cultural, social, and economic exchange. One must speak to their needs as a land sea enterprise, a definition inherent in their nature, support and maritime cities. It is the duality that makes the planning process very delicate and complicated. The Strait of Messina represents a big hub of interchange, a great opportunity to re-evaluation the primary and secondary strategic nodes. One of the tools is the strategic plan for the promotion of the strait area, which is a preparatory study to the master plan. The latter by setting as its primary objective the refunctionalization of the areas concerned, aims at the better usability of the area, taking into consideration the actor involved, highlighting the potential of some projects already started, giving space and emphasis to the development of other projects of common interest, creating the right scenarios for redevelopment of the strait. The preliminary document for the drafting of the strategic plan consists of a reconnaissance analysis document and is accompanied by a variety of graphic works, including a final synthesis document suitable for definition and overall vision of the project scenarios, gathering and systematizing the outcomes of the analysis work. In the strategic definition, spatial realities were identified through a macro zoning that aims to connect the local and the wide area system, starting from the study of the land sphere interface as a location of flows, interaction, exchange, and opportunities. The document aims to highlight the intertwo unexpressed possibility of activating territorial coalition, through participation and involvement, finally giving the possibility of achieving the metropolitan map region, gravitating around the identified focal points. One, we can to see criticality and vulnerability. Two, we can to see planning system. Three, we can to see socio-demographic system. Four, we can to see Sloman landscape and environment system. Five, we can to see system of metropolitan service and facilities. Six, we can to see infrastructure system and general framework. Seven, we can to see the key themes, the infrastructural aspect, but also the accessibility of areas with high tourist location, the enlargement of the historical and environment heritage of which the area is and the enlargement of the landscape itself. All this is, of course, will eventually be able to lead to the real interest of economic and innovative development, recommending such important factors as employment growth, the relationship between public administration and business, and much more. The goal set have the ambitious role of triggering the real process of upgrading the physical environment, functional and social factors. Through the analysis process, the key themes on which to develop the redevelopment process, where identify, which compose in summary the strategic action, identify in the plan, define the infrastructure system in terms of efficiency, endowments, implement programming capable of territory and local institutions to build the response to the new instance of change in the integrated infrastructure and urban system. Solicit elaboration of ideas in the most Italian hub for the Mediterranean. Define suitable strategy for the reorganization of the supply of metropolitan endowments and the service with respect to their strategic relevance, invest in infrastructure in terms of intermodality, mobility, territorial continuity, and safety, because the reorganization of network must be rethought in a system logic in which the street SIA is an active part and is not just a discontinuity element interposed between the two mainland. Integrating the places of polycentrism emphasize the importance of local focal nodes in major urban areas. Intermediate urban poles are expected to strengthen their level of connection with the hinterland, suburban poles, island areas, and the smaller center, creating a connection between municipalities and cities while also giving eyes to a new and denser network of exchange. Provide a strategic vision of the territory's potential by enhancing the common cultural heritage, landscape, and environment by analyzing the socio-demographic and population reality dynamics. The strategic planning draws new geography for the territorial regeneration of inland areas, including metropolitan areas, by promoting the economic and tourism revitalization of the territory. The rediscovery of landscape and local value for new tourist attractions capable of evaluating on not only locally but also on large scale the regional territory, playing the groundwork for shared policy making on some system of welfare, energy, and digital network business support, not undermining citizen and community welfare. Keeping the virtual connection in terms of relation to regional, national, and European levels. The plan incentivizes the forms of regeneration for local economic development based on the territory ability to be a catalyst for new business initiatives linked to cultural and technical resources. Recovery can take place through startups of territorial regenerations, provide the possibility of and territorial grants, new centers for territorial economic development as a reward measure for the participation of subjects in the implementation of intervention for the spread of soft tourism related to the sea and the landscape resource. Cesar and Mix. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks, Celestina, for your presentation. Any question?
Just a curiosity, the strategical plan is responsible for it is Napoli.
No, is a part, is a team. Is a team. Is a one member is Celestina.
Okay.
That worked on this, on the first and the other step, in order to implement this master plan.
Okay, but the universities of Sicily and Calabria are responsible together. No.
Yes, I think I want to ask Celestina.
Yes.
Do you understand the question?
No, I don't understand.
We try to repeat.
Just a curiosity, because your presentation was very interesting. It's about the responsibility of the research. The strategical plan responsibilities split by Sicily and Calabria regions, and the universities that are involved are?
No. Is a responsibility of the Consiglio Regionale Calabria, not university.
Ah, okay, perfect. So, and the region is Calabria, not Sicily.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Perfect.
Region.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Celestina. And now we can conclude this workshop with the final presentation with author Clara Stella Vicali-Aversa. The title of this research is Ports in the Ports, the Case of Messina. Clara Stella, please switch on the microphone and share your screen.
Okay. Hi. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very happy and I'm honored to be here and to be a part of this meeting. And I will show you something about the port, but in specific case, the port of Messina. And so we still continues on this line about the Strait of Messina. And now I show the presentation. Do you see it?
No.
Can you see the?
No, it's not possible.
No? Okay, one moment. Oh.
If you prefer, I can try on this screen. I have a copy of your presentation. Do you prefer that I open?
If you don't see it, you can show my presentation.
Here. Okay. The screen is working now.
Oh, I see. I see many screens. I don't know if you too.
No, we can share the screen of this laptop, not your. If you want, I can change the slide. You can talk.
Oh, I don't see the presentation, actually. I don't know why.
No?
I don't.
Need to get up and see to do that. Maybe it's gonna work.
Okay. Okay, it's better to close this. Okay. Okay, I can stop this.
The last presentation.
Yeah. Yeah. Clara Stella, please try to share your screen again. Where? Here.
Okay.
Stella?
Sì,
Can
I'm
you
here.
hear me?
Okay, yes.
Okay, please try again with your screen to share your screen.
I try again, okay.
I think it's going to work.
Yeah. Yes, now it's okay. Yes, you can start, please. Oh, it's a mute. No? Where is? Stella, the microphone doesn't work. Yes, my. Clara Stella, can you hear me? Please switch on your microphone.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Please share your screen.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry for the inconvenience.
Don't worry.
And I come from Mediterranean University of Reggio Calabria, and I work in architecture and urban design. And I show you my research about ports, in the ports, the case of Messina. And so we brief introduction about the port city. Messina is a particular port city because the presence of the port, like other port cities, is closely related to the historical and cultural memory of the city. Just to marking profoundly it. And the architectural configuration of Messina is depend directly from this particular condition. And like other city of ports. Many cities are very important and imagine very linked with the port, and many crises and depends on the port in center of the city. And effect in this case, many the last many crises of the port we can see it directly in the center of the city. and many cities in the last year almost completely turned their back on the sea. A strategic error when one considers that this is, after all, the primary source of wealth, the sea and the port. And so many cities as we know, many cases I have analyzed, I was there, such as this in the photo, Marsiglia, Bilbao, Hamburg, Tokyo, but also Boston, Yokohama, and others, have resurrected, precisely recovering the historical port space with a profound intervention of recovery of their respective waterfront and the reconversion and the redevelopment of the sea on river port. And for this city, the close port-city relationship, it is very rich, transform them a rich ecosystem that only lives with the cooperation of all its parts. And this is the case of Messina. Case of Messina, historically the key of the Sicily, the gateway to Sicily from the Italian peninsula, located on the strait, and the configuration of the harbor is particular with the appearance of a sickle, a harbor that still identifies the image of the center of the city itself. And also redesigned by the architectural invention of the city, historical, the Palazzata, is no other, the Palazzata, or redesigned with the architecture of the harbor front. Tries to embrace the harbors with Palazzata. And so the city is also an incredible crossroad of land and sea, but also of change between one land to another land, and to run to the continent. And so Messina, the key of Sicily, also in mythology about Scilla Cariddi, we went Goethe, Antonello da Messina, also the entire history of Messina is linked to his port since now. And since now is the port is an inextricable intertwining of routes. The special feature of the urban port is this, a continuous and inextricable intertwining of routes. There are fast and slow routes, traffic or light vehicles, such as cars, and heavy vehicles, such as trucks, flows of people and goods between one bank and the other, and parallel to the city across the strait from north to south and vice versa. And so today is no longer a single port. There are many ports in the port, is this case, particular case. And so the historic cycle is not the only, is like the heart of the city until now, but it's not the only one. And Messina, from this, there are other parts of port. This is one of the map of the system authority of the strait. And right in front, and so the historical cycle, but is the center and of the port of Messina, and despite its fairly contained dimensions, actually seems to house a world, an entire world. And there are, and so right, we speak about the route, an historical intertwining of route, because right in front of the historical Palazzata, there are many routes that cross one each other, and so that there are many different straight, therefore present profile of complexity that can make it a parodic. And the historic port is located in the historic and current center of the city. Commuter transport from the Calabrian side of the strait interacts in it, serving workers in two areas, traffic on the Tyrrhenian-Marionian axis and vice versa of poor transit, which in turn enters with rail, vehicle, and passenger traffic on Sicilia-Calabria axis of no commuter traffic. And finally, the port is affected by cruise tourism, which places the city among the top 10 nationwide. And so we can see, for example, one of these photos I made in these days, just for the paper, because in a day you can see everyone, every kind of boat, of vehicle, everything. It's especially, it's very, very interesting, Messina traffic. But also this traffic, okay, we can see the main port, Messina, in Europe by number of passengers transported each year. The main port, and Reggio Calabria, which is in front of Messina, is the fourth port, despite the dimension is very little. But there are something consequences that are not so good, because, for example, in Italy, this is as we can see, the emission from ship activities at the port, Italy is the first. And so there are something that we have to do to reduce this problem for the environment. One can therefore understand how important it is to intervene urgently and carefully in this port area, with many, and also it's important that many people try to work together. A wide variety of entities and interests are involved, and only with dialogue, understanding between all stakeholders and joint planning, it is possible to think of contributing the success of a waterfront redevelopment project. And in this complex framework relationship, and so we have to do something. For example, the Port Authority of the Strait has a number of interventions underway, also shown in the Authority Strait Sustainability Report, such as, for example, electrification of all the quays of the historical port as not the only intervention, but are very important, this electrification for all the boats that the cruise, for example, that are arriving. And so can contribute to the objective of carbon neutrality by in few years. And so the very problem of green transition, but the green transition can also be achieved in other ways, and above all by reducing the cost to limit the consequence. And in the case of Messina, a big step forward can also be taken by the intervening in infrastructure, logistic and alternative connections, such as the Strait of Messina Bridge, which would greatly reduce polluting emission due to the routes of ship laden with the vehicle between the two shores. For example, in this case, there is a very interesting report by the engineers Giovanni Mollica and Nino Musca, and they can demonstrate the bridge can reduce the pollution about more than 19% in this case by reduction of the boat. But also green transition is also achieved by intervening with appropriate redesign and careful architectural reconfiguration in public space and building along the maritime edge of the port in a greener and more conscious manner. It is no coincidence that over time the major architects of town planners who have worked on the strait have not resisted, including the port as a founding project of urban redevelopment. This is one of the most interesting projects I think we have in Messina. Is by 1969 by Giuseppe Alberto Samonà with the Gruppo Urbanisti Siciliani. And they not only know the importance of the port, they do also represent a B-port, a second port like a bridge to connection to other part of the Italy, of the Calabria. And there are many actions we can do to redemonstrate and to underline the importance of the waterfront, the sea, the reconnection between city and the sea, and not to do barrier between land and sea. And so the importance, I think, that particular, as I said before, or Messina is like it is many ports in the ports, because there are many different traffic, and so many interventions we have to do to have urgent measure for a city which Messina needs. And so for the multifaceted character of the port itself, for example, we have in the when we have the blue line, the blue. For example, the center, I think, is very strategic point, because here there are developing new projects. For example, the former market areas are changed with the innovation hub, hub dello Stretto, and the use of custom house. Once the Royal Palace are renovating, and is necessary a new cruise terminal, which recover and to connect to Real Cittadella, which is in the ancient part of the Sickle of Messina. And so there are three symbolically concentric circles on the historic port maybe to be considered: the green transition of the port infrastructure, the use of architecture of historical importance, and the new construction of disused area in the city close to the boarding of the historic port, the discovery and reclamation to make it a living part of the city and Real Cittadella located on the Sickle itself. And in this perspective, it is important the starting point of Angelo Mazzoni Maritime Station, connecting Messina with the Real Cittadella and the Sickle, and Messina and New Palazzata, the Exhibition Citadel, and Miume, and to Capo Peloro. And the importance of can return to being the vital center from the city, to be capable to reuniting a revitalization of the urban waterfront to the sea and the land of Messina, start integrating to the Sickle in the Palazzata. Messina is splendid, but this is my last imagine. Messina is splendid, but too often reseen the lack of courage and ambition. And so we can see it will be good enough this time to savor the new change that comes with being a city by the sea, bridge over the Strait, Messina included. Will it be able to bet on its new image, reluminous in the starting point of very heart of the city, making peace with its port and reaffirming its waterfront? And Italo Calvino wrote about many cities in the invisible city, but especially one, Zenobia. He said about the happy and unhappy city, but he said that the most thing I need is most interesting, especially in two types of city. And so Messina have to decide when she want to go. Those that continues through the years and mutation to give their shape to desires, and those in which desires succeed in a resident city or are resident for them. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Credo sia finita la connessione. Forse parlavo sola. Ma parlavo sola, forse.
No, ti abbiamo sentita.
Ah, ok, non sentivo più. Scusate. Ok, non vi sentivo più.